What is going on, guys? Today we're talking about AMD. At the end of the video, we're going to be going over earnings and some of the things I believe a lot of people missed, and we're going to be going about the valuations. But I have been buying AMD, and right now I just want to share my thesis on AMD, and I think people are missing the point on why you should own AMD. The first thing I look at when I find a stock is what industry is it in and is it going to grow? Is there potential there? And if you look at AMD, it is absolutely there. If you look at the GPU market, it is projected to grow at a CAGR of 33%, from 86 billion it's worth right now to $364 billion. So even if AMD just keeps that 10% market share and doesn't lose anything to NVIDIA, even if they lose a point or two, they're still going to profit massively from this. And if you look at the CPU market and the semiconductor market, we see the same thing. We see very nice growth, 7% and 15% in the CPU market, where AMD has been destroying Intel. And right here in AMD's 10K, they even said, if you bought $100 worth of AMD in the end of 2019, it would be worth $270 right now. If you bought S&P 500, it would be worth $200. And if you bought the S&P 500 semiconductor index, it would be worth $537. That is more than a fivefold. Now, I have not found what exact index fund that they were talking about, but I did find this one, which over the last 5 years has returned 18%, and the last 10 years, 19%. The ticker symbol is XSD. So if you want exposure to the semiconductor market, but don't feel confident in AMD, which I think there's a lot of reasons AMD is not the best pick, do your own due diligence, because I think this is a market that everyone should be investing in because there's going to be insane returns. First off, the CPU market. This is where I'm really happy how AMD has been performing. We can see right here that the CPU market in 2021, the beginning, they had 19% share. Now they have 28% share of the market. And Intel fell from 80% to 71%. So these guys are growing and taking over the CPU market. Now, if we look at the GPU market share, we have a different picture. AMD is struggling. We can see that NVIDIA holds about 88% of the market share, and AMD only holds about 12%, 12 to 10% of the market, and it fell from having 19% market control. Quick note for you guys, I have been experimenting with Gemini DeepThink, which is an AI that literally just made me an 8-page report on AMD and some other stuff. So if you do want this report, just comment down below and I will send you the link for free. Now let's compare AMD to NVIDIA. And keep in mind, NVIDIA is worth $3 trillion and AMD is only worth $180 billion. Right off the bat, we can see that the margins are much, much better in NVIDIA. They have a 75% gross margin, 55% net margin, which is insane, while AMD is playing with a 6% net margin and 50% gross margin. Same thing if you look at the return on assets, NVIDIA has been killing it, while AMD has not been doing so well. But AMD does have great management, and I trust their CEO. The lady that's CEO right now, she took over the company when the AMD was worth $2, and she brought it to where it is today. They have done fantastic acquisitions, which did mess with their balance sheet, but they're still healthy. We'll go over that later. But the key point is, if you look at the analyst projections, AMD is supposed to grow their earnings per share 380% next year, 25% revenue growth, and NVIDIA is also seeing nice growth. So the problem is people are thinking it's a or thing. It's NVIDIA or AMD. The truth is both of these companies are going to be buying chips from both companies for different purposes. The question is, why is AMD down so much right now? And if you look at the company has been doing amazingly, revenue is growing, net income is growing, but the price is just getting beat, and even after their earnings. What happened in their earnings is that they fell 200 million short on the revenue from the data center section, which we will get into, which is not that big of a deal. And the other thing was they weren't as profitable. Their net income wasn't as good because of a one-time charge-off. So if you actually know how to read financial statements, you know that it's not permanent and it won't happen again, and that their next quarter will look a whole lot better. But there's more. If you look at NVIDIA, in the last couple of months, they have not been doing very well either. Now, this is all because of DeepSeek, the Chinese AI model. And Alibaba even released a better AI model than DeepSeek, than Meta, than OpenAI, and all of those guys. That caused fear in the markets, and all the big companies like Meta and Microsoft had emergency meetings because DeepSeek claimed that with $6 million, they created the best AI yet. Now, this is not true, and even though I invest in China, you can't believe everything from China. They lie, and it was found out that they had a bunch of NVIDIA chips. And people thought that the CapEx from the Maga 7, the Meta, Microsoft, Google, which have partnerships with both AMD and both NVIDIA and even Intel, that they are going to cut their capex spending, which is over $50 billion a year for all of those companies. Massive amounts of money. But I don't see that being the case. I don't think they're going to cut capex spending. I think they're only going to increase it because they know that having the best AI and having the best technologies is crucial. And whoever has that will prevail as the. Let's get into the earnings. And what nobody has been talking about is the high stock-based compensation, which I don't think it should be ignored. They paid $1.4 billion, which is pretty much all of their free cash flow back to the team as stock-based compensation. And I don't like to see that in companies. Palantir is doing the same thing, and I understand that's just how these companies operate. They want to reward themselves, but they have been doing a lot of buybacks as well. First of all, AMD has 4 segments to their business, and we all know that the gaming and the embedded side has been doing horribly, but the client side's been doing very well, and the data center has been killing it. And I think that is the main thing that everybody is focusing on, that AMD is betting big on, because that is the most crucial part. Now, if we look at the fourth quarter alone, revenue is up 24% year over year. Very nice. Gross margin is improving to 51%, 54% not GAAP. Operating margin is improving, so their margins are getting better. And this right here is what pissed investors off. The net income was down 28% year over year, down 37% quarter over quarter. And if you look at the different segments, we can see that data center is up 69% year over year and only up 9% quarter over quarter. Client up 23% quarter over quarter. Operating income on that improved massively, up 711%. It's become a lot more profitable. And of course, the gaming is down 59%, the net revenue. And the operating income is also down 78%, embedded down 13%. Operating income on that segment is down 21%. So that does not look good. If you look at the full year growth, look at this. Net income is up 92%. Revenue is only up 14%. But if you compare this to any other company in the market, they would die to trade places with AMD, while the market is reacting like they're dying and they're the next Intel and that there is no future. If you zoom in on the data center segment, up 69% over year, they have partnerships with massive companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tencent, Alibaba. Their revenue isn't only coming from America. Only about 33% of their revenue is coming from America. They also do China and a lot of the Asian countries as well as Europe. And if you look at this, AMD powers 5 out of the 10 fastest and 15 of the 25 most energy efficient supercomputers. So these guys are innovating like crazy and on top of their game. And on the client segment, the operating margin has went from 4% to 19%. And at the same time, we can see that the research and development, this is where they have been investing a lot of money, $6 billion in 2024. Marketing, not so much, because they have built those partnerships that are going to make them succeed. Now, if you look at the valuation, is it a good time to buy? First off, we have right here from Dividend Talks YouTube video, he gave it an intrinsic value of $187. I believe it's more closer to $150, but either way, it has a very nice margin of safety, which Warren Buffett would be proud of. And if we look at the patient investors, he gave it a base case and a best case. So I believe the 30% growth is realistic, and I think that is something they will be able to achieve. And if we look at the PE, it is currently selling at 22 times forward earnings, which I believe is cheap, and that's why I'm loading up in the company right now. If you don't want to invest into AMD directly and you want some ETFs, comment down below and I can make a video of the best ETFs on the semiconductor industry. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope I pointed out something that you didn't know about AMD. Have a great day.